I never thought a single piece of paper could destroy everything I believed about my family. But there I was, standing in my grandmother's attic, holding a letter that proved my entire life had been built on a lie. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely read the words, but what I saw changed everything forever. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how I discovered the truth about who I really am. Hi everyone. I'm Sarah, I'm 24 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect understanding of my family. I grew up in a small town in Ohio with my mom, Linda, and my dad, Robert. We weren't rich, but we were close. At least, that's what I always believed. My mom was always the heart of our family, warm, caring, always making sure everyone felt loved. My dad was quieter, more reserved, but I never questioned it. Some dads are just like that, right? He worked long hours at the auto shop, came home tired, watched TV, and went to bed. Normal dad stuff. I was their only child, and they always told me I was their miracle baby. Mom would say, "Sarah, you came to us when we needed you most. You completed our family." It made me feel special, wanted, loved. But looking back now, there were always little things that didn't quite add up. Things I brushed off because, well, why would you question the people who raised you? Growing up, I noticed that we didn't have many family photos from when I was really little. Mom always said she wasn't good with cameras back then, that she was too busy taking care of me to remember to take pictures. Made sense, I guess. We also never really talked about extended family. Mom's parents died when I was young, I barely remembered them. Dad's family lived far away, and we just lost touch. I accepted it because that's what kids do, they accept what their parents tell them. The weird thing was, I looked nothing like either of my parents. Mom had dark hair and brown eyes, Dad had blonde hair and blue eyes, and there I was with red hair and green eyes. When people commented on it, Mom would laugh and say, "She gets it from my great-grandmother. Genetics are funny like that." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Everything started to unravel last summer when my grandmother on my mom's side, Grandma Rose, passed away unexpectedly. She had a heart attack while gardening. It was devastating because she was one of the few family members I was actually close to. Mom inherited Grandma Rose's house, and we spent weeks going through her belongings. It was emotional work, sorting through a lifetime of memories, deciding what to keep, what to donate, what to throw away. Mom was handling most of it, but she asked me to go through the attic because she said it was too hard for her emotionally. "Sarah, honey, you're young and strong. Can you handle the attic for me?" I can't bear to go through all of Mama's old things right now. Of course I said yes. I wanted to help, and honestly, I was curious about what was up there. Grandma Rose never talked much about the past, and I thought maybe I'd find some cool family history. The attic was exactly what you'd expect, dusty, cramped, filled with boxes labeled things like Christmas decorations 1987 and Rose's wedding dress. I spent hours up there, sneezing from the dust, carefully going through decades of memories. Most of it was pretty standard stuff, old photo albums, holiday decorations, some antique furniture that probably wasn't worth much. I was getting tired and ready to call it a day when I noticed a small wooden box tucked way back in the corner, behind some old suitcases. The box was beautiful, dark wood with intricate carvings. It looked important, like something you'd keep your most precious belongings in. When I opened it, I found a collection of letters tied with a blue ribbon, some old jewelry, and a few documents. I almost put it aside without looking through it. These seemed like Grandma Rose's private things, and I felt weird about invading her privacy, even though she was gone. But something made me untie that ribbon. The letters were love letters from my grandfather to Grandma Rose, written during World War II. They were beautiful and heartbreaking, and I was crying reading them, thinking about how much they loved each other. But then I found a letter that was different. It wasn't from my grandfather. It was addressed to Grandma Rose, but the return address said, St. Mary's Home for Unwed Mothers, Columbus, Ohio. The postmark was from August 1999. August 1999. I was born in September 1999. My heart started pounding. Why would Grandma Rose have a letter from a home for unwed mothers right around the time I was born? With shaking hands, I opened the letter. It was typed on official letterhead. Dear Mrs. Rodriguez. Thank you for your patience during this process. We are pleased to inform you that the adoption arrangements for baby girl Johnson have been finalized. The adoptive family has requested that all future correspondence go through their attorney. We will be in touch if any medical information becomes available. Please find enclosed the final documentation as requested. Sincerely, Margaret Whitfield, Director. Attached to the letter was a birth certificate. Not mine, I'd seen my birth certificate plenty of times. This one was for baby girl Johnson, born September 3, 1999. My birthday is September 3, 1999. But the mother's name on this birth certificate wasn't Linda Martinez. It was Jessica Johnson. Age 16. I sat there in that dusty attic, holding this piece of paper, and my entire world just stopped. I don't remember climbing down from the attic. I don't remember walking to the kitchen where Mom was packing up Grandma Rose's dishes. All I remember is standing there, holding that birth certificate, and asking, Mom, who is Jessica Johnson? The plate she was holding slipped from her hands and shattered on the floor. The sound seemed to echo forever in the sudden silence. She looked at me, then at the paper in my hands, and I watched the color drain completely from her face. Sarah, where did you find that? In Grandma Rose's attic. In a box with a letter from an adoption agency. My voice was surprisingly steady, but inside I was screaming. Mom sat down heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. She looked like she had aged 10 years in 10 seconds. We were going to tell you. Tell me what, exactly? I was still hoping, somehow, that this was all a misunderstanding. That there was an innocent explanation. Sarah, sit down, please. Tell me what, Mom? She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. You're adopted, sweetheart. Your father and we adopted you when you were 3 days old. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually stumbled backward. What do you mean, adopted? You said I was your miracle baby. You said I completed your family. You did. You absolutely did complete our family. Sarah, we tried for 8 years to have a baby. 8 years of doctor visits and treatments and disappointments. We had given up hope when Grandma Rose told us about this young girl who was pregnant and looking for a good family for her baby. Jessica Johnson. Yes. Jessica. She was so young, honey. Only 16. She came from a troubled home, and she knew she couldn't provide the life she wanted for her baby. For you. I was pacing now, unable to sit still. So you just took me. And never told me. We didn't take you, Sarah. We adopted you legally. Jessica chose us. She met with us several times before you were born. She wanted to make sure you'd be loved and cared for. But you lied to me my entire life. Mom was sobbing now. We didn't lie, exactly. We were going to tell you when you were older, but then years went by, and you seemed so happy, and we were scared. Scared of what? Scared you'd want to find her instead of us. Scared you'd feel like we weren't your real parents. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Well, congratulations, Mom. Mission accomplished. I don't know what to feel about any of you right now. That's when Dad walked in. He took one look at the scene, Mom crying, me holding the birth certificate, the broken plate on the floor, and he knew. "You found out," he said quietly. "You knew. Of course you knew. You both knew, and you both lied to me for 24 years. Dad sat down next to Mom. "Sarah, we love you. We have loved you every single day since we brought you home from the hospital. You are our daughter. But I'm not, am I? I'm Jessica Johnson's daughter. I'm some teenager's mistake that you cleaned up." "Don't you dare say that," Mom said, suddenly fierce through her tears. "You were never a mistake. You were wanted and planned for and prayed for. Maybe not by us biologically, but by us emotionally from the moment we knew you existed." I left. I just walked out of that house and drove aimlessly for hours. I ended up at a park where I used to play as a kid, sitting on a swing set in the dark, trying to process what I'd learned. Every memory from my childhood suddenly felt different. Every "you're just like your mother" comment, every time someone said I didn't look like my parents, every family photo where I stood out like I didn't belong, it all made sense now. But it also made me feel like I didn't know who I was anymore. I called my best friend, Maya, at like 2 in the morning. "Sarah. What's wrong?" "Maya, if you found out everything you believed about yourself was a lie, what would you do? What are you talking about? Are you okay?" I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Sarah," she finally said, "your parents love you. That's not a lie. But they lied about everything else." "Did they, though? I mean, think about it. They raised you. They were there for every skinned knee, every heartbreak, every achievement. They paid for your college, they celebrated your birthdays, they worried about you when you were sick. Isn't that what makes someone a parent? But what about Jessica? What about my real mother? Your real mother is the one who raised you, Sarah. But that doesn't mean you can't be curious about Jessica too." Maya was right, but I wasn't ready to hear it yet. I was too angry, too hurt, too confused. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a hotel and just sat there, staring at that birth certificate, wondering about this 16-year-old girl who gave birth to me and then gave me away. What did she look like? Did I get my red hair from her? Was she smart? Funny? What kind of music did she like? Did she ever think about me? And the biggest question of all, was she still alive? Did she want to know me? I spent the next 2 weeks avoiding my parents and researching Jessica Johnson. It's amazing what you can find online these days. I found her Facebook page pretty easily, the age was right, and she still lived in Ohio. She was beautiful. I could see where I got my eyes and the shape of my face. She had kids, 2 boys who looked to be around 12 and 10. She was married to a guy named Mike, and from her photos, she looked happy. I stared at those photos for hours. This woman who gave birth to me had gone on to have a whole life. A husband, kids she kept, a normal suburban existence. It made me feel, I don't know, jealous, sad, confused. I created a fake Facebook account and looked at more of her photos. There were pictures of her boys playing soccer, family vacations, birthday parties. Normal family stuff. The kind of stuff my parents, Linda and Robert, had done with me. Then I found a post from September 3rd, my birthday. Every year, she posted the same thing, thinking of you today and always. I hope you're happy and loved wherever you are. She was thinking about me. Every year on my birthday, she was thinking about me. I screenshot that post and cried for an hour. The next day, I finally went home. Mom was in the kitchen, she looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. "Sarah," she said when she saw me. "I'm so glad you're home. We've been so worried." "I found her," I said. "I found Jessica." Mom's face went pale again. "Oh. She has kids. 2 boys. She's married. She looks happy." That's good. I'm glad she's happy." I sat down across from her. "Mom, I need to know everything. The whole story. No more secrets." And finally, she told me. The full story was both better and worse than I had imagined. Jessica was indeed 16 when she got pregnant. She came from a difficult family situation. Her parents were divorced, her mom was struggling with addiction, her dad was mostly absent. When she found out she was pregnant, she knew she couldn't raise a baby in that environment. She specifically chose Linda and Robert because they had been trying to have a baby for so long, and because Grandma Rose vouched for them. Jessica wanted her baby to go to people who would appreciate and love the child they couldn't have themselves. "She met with us 3 times before you were born," Mom told me. "She asked us about our hopes and dreams for you. She made us promise that we'd make sure you went to college, that we'd encourage your talents, that we'd always tell you that you were loved. So why didn't you tell me about her?" "She asked us not to, initially. She said it would be too hard for her if you tried to contact her while she was still young and trying to build her own life. She made us promise to wait until you were at least 18, and then longer if we thought it would be disruptive. But I'm 24 now." "I know. And we should have told you. We were just scared of losing you." The conversation continued for hours. I learned that Jessica had left a letter for me, to be given to me when I was ready. Mom had kept it all these years, along with a few photos from when I was born. Reading Jessica's letter was one of the most emotional experiences of my life. She told me how much she loved me, how hard it was to give me up, but how sure she was that it was the right choice. She told me about her hopes for my future and her gratitude to Linda and Robert for giving me the life she couldn't provide. At the end, she wrote, "If you ever want to meet me when you're grown up, I would love that. But if you don't, I understand. You don't owe me anything. I just want you to know that you were made from love, even if the situation wasn't perfect." It's been 3 months since I found that letter in Grandma Rose's attic. 3 months of processing, thinking, crying, and slowly healing. I haven't contacted Jessica yet, but I think I will soon. I want to thank her for the sacrifice she made, and I want her to know that her wish came true. I was loved and appreciated every single day by Linda and Robert. Because that's what I've realized through all of this. Linda and Robert are my parents. They're the ones who were there for every important moment of my life. They're the ones who love me unconditionally, even when I'm angry and hurt and saying terrible things. Jessica gave me life, and I'm grateful for that. But Linda and Robert gave me everything else. I've forgiven my parents for not telling me sooner. I understand now that they were just scared people trying to do their best in a complicated situation. And honestly, if they had told me when I was younger, I probably would have been too immature to handle it well anyway. The truth is, I'm lucky. I had parents who wanted me so desperately that they waited 8 years for me. And I had a birth mother who loved me enough to make sure I went to the right family, even though it broke her heart. Not everyone gets one family that loves them unconditionally. I got 2. So that's my story. The story of how I learned that families aren't just about blood, they're about love, commitment, and showing up every day, even when it's hard. I'm curious about your thoughts. Have you ever discovered something that changed how you saw your family? How do you think I should approach meeting Jessica for the first time? What would you do in my situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Sometimes sharing these experiences helps us all feel a little less alone in our complicated, messy, beautiful lives. Talk to you soon.